Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about Taylor Swift's newest album, Midnights, and specifically we're going to talk about the track order. Now, this is something that I think is really interesting because Taylor is a storyteller, and honestly, that's probably the biggest reason why I love her music so much and why so many people are so drawn to her music is because she's such an incredible storyteller through her songs. But the thing is that it's not just within the context of a single song. We also have to look at the album as a whole and the story that Taylor is telling through each of her albums. And that's why I think the choices that she made for the track listing and the order of the tracks on Midnights is so fascinating to me. And it doesn't quite follow some of the patterns that she's done for previous albums, but I have some theories as to why that might be. Obviously, this being her 10th album, and just, she's a marketing genius too, so I think some of it has to do with like marketing and which songs she chose as singles, which I'll touch on that a little bit as well as we get into it. But yeah, I have some thoughts. I have, I guess, a different format or a different order that I would have put the tracks in personally. So I'm going to lay that out for you guys and kind of explain my reasoning why. And I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments if you agree with me or if you disagree with me, if you love the order that Taylor chose, or if you think it could have been better, or if you think that, if you have like ideas for different ways that the tracks could have been laid out. I'm super curious to hear what you guys think. I am mostly going to be focusing just on the original 13 tracks. I do have some thoughts on the deluxe edition and like those 7 bonus tracks that she just released out of nowhere. So we'll get to that at the end, and I want to hear your thoughts on that as well. But let's jump in and let's get started just on the original 13 tracks. So first of all, Lavender Haze as the first track is a very solid choice in my opinion. I would leave that one right where it is. I think the main reason being it's a great introduction to the vibe of the album and kind of the style, the genre that Taylor was going for with this album. And I think you really need that because, you think of like, okay, the first track off of Folklore being the one. Anytime you're doing like such a major shift in genres, you need a really solid opening song to kind of get people used to the idea of this genre. And so I think the opening with Lavender Haze was a really good idea. Obviously it opens with the line, "Meet me at midnight," which has been Taylor's whole thing, like leading up to this album. That was kind of like her tagline in all the promotional material. So I think that's a really, really solid opening song. So I'm going to leave Lavender Haze as track number 1. Track number 2 is where we start to switch it up a little bit. I would have done Antihero as track number 2. Now, this is an incredibly solid single from this album, and obviously like the one song that most people know, like even if you're not a fan of Taylor, you've probably heard this song or like seen the music video or whatever. So I like putting this one at track 2 because again, it's just like super early in the album. And so number 1, you're wanting to establish kind of the genre and the style that you're going for in this album. But then second of all, I don't know, just like having it be the second track, it's like, again, that's the song that everyone knows. And so that's the one that's going to get the most playtime. So I think putting that as early as possible in the album is a good call because, people will go to the album, listen to that song and maybe leave Spotify on or, they'll be doing something else and it just keeps playing and then they kind of hear more of your music as well. So that one, again, it's not that big of a deal because I'm only moving it up 1 track from number 3 to number 2, but I think it's a change worth making personally. For track 3, I would put Maroon as track 3, so basically just swapping that and Antihero. I think it is a really solid early song, but it is also a little bit like lower energy, and like don't hear me say that that's a bad thing because it's not, but I do think that especially early on in an album like this, whenever you are trying to again introduce this new genre to your audience, you want to put the most, this is going to sound bad, but I don't really mean it as a bad thing, but you want to put your most palatable songs earlier. And Maroon is like, it's decently palatable, but it's also, again, just kind of lower energy. And so I think that putting that after Antihero is actually, it makes the opening of the album a bit more solid because you start off with Lavender Haze and then Antihero and just like really solid, like really get people's attention. And then it's okay to kind of slow it down and have Maroon, which is a bit of a more mellow song, I guess I would say. There's a few songs on here that I would kind of count as that. I'm using the term low energy. I don't know if that's really the best way to describe it, so I hope you're like following what I'm meaning by that. But yeah, basically just like, I don't know, the simpler songs or the ones that are like maybe a little bit slower, or they're more about the lyrics and less about the music and like the upbeat, vibey sound that she was going for with this album. So hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, so I would put Maroon as track number 3. Now this is where I'm going to start really changing things up. So for track 4, and this might be a little controversial, so I'm really curious to hear what you guys think about this, I would put You're on Your Own Kid as track number 4. There's a couple reasons for this. First of all, I think track 4 is way too early for Snow on the Beach. We'll get into that more once we get to like where I have that song in the ranking here. But I think it just like, it's different enough from the other songs. It feels kind of out of place in a way from the rest of the songs in the album, because it's like very like mellow, but really nostalgic, I guess is more the word I'm looking for. And it's also like almost Christmassy in a sense. I mean, obviously she's talking about snow and all of that. But even just like some of the musical stuff that she does with like the sleigh bells and stuff, I don't know, it just kind of stands out to me. And I think it's too early to do that in this album on track 4. So I have Snow on the Beach like way later. But also to talk more about You're on Your Own Kid, the reason I would put that as track 4 is because personally, I don't think it's the best track 5 option that she has out of all the songs that she wrote. As you know, if you're a Swiftie, you know that for Taylor, the big, like kind of the big track on her albums is typically track 5. And she normally has that, it's like I guess the saddest song. I mean, All Too Well is track 5. Go look at any of her track 5s. And for the most part, that tends to be where she puts kind of the most heart-wrenching song, I guess is the best way to say it. And so, yeah, I mean, You're on Your Own Kid is a great song. Don't get me wrong. I love that song. And that's why, again, I also think it should be a little bit earlier in the track listing, because you're more likely to get people to stick around and listen if you have your most solid songs towards the beginning. So I would put You're on Your Own Kid as track 4. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's not that it's not a sad song, because it is, but it's just not, I just don't think it's the best option for her track 5. Okay. It's like a little too upbeat for me personally. So I'd put You're on Your Own Kid as track 4, and then track 5 I would do as Midnight Rain. Now, okay, and I should also say, I kind of did debate over this track 5, because I think there are a couple of solid options on the album for a track 5. Midnight Rain, it is very different stylistically. So it would be kind of a big swing for her to put that as track 5. And so I understand that might be why she didn't, because I don't know, it's just like, especially the opening and all the voice effects that she has like on her vocals throughout. I know it's like a little bit out of left field to kind of make that your track 5. But at the same time, I feel like something that Taylor has done so well in the past is when she really goes for something and like takes a big swing and like really goes for it, and it's just kind of like making a bold choice and just saying like, this is the choice, and like everyone can get on board, or you don't have to like it, and that's fine. And so I kind of feel like if she would have made Midnight Rain her track 5, that kind of would have been the attitude behind it. And I think a lot of people would have really gotten on board with it. I think it would make a really solid track 5. Again, with these two, I'm only moving them up one spot in the track listing, but I think this is a very significant change because of the emphasis on track 5 that Taylor normally has. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, you guys can let me know in the comments if you agree or if you disagree, but I think that Midnight Rain would make a really solid track 5. Track number 6, honestly, I would put Vigilante Shit as track 6. I know that that's moving it up a few spots, I think. I think it's like track 8. Well, I guess so that's only 2 spots. But yeah, again, this to me is like one of the best songs on the album. It's honestly probably my favorite. So again, with just kind of like putting the more solid songs like early on, I also think it would play really well right after Midnight Rain, because you kind of I mean, you kind of have this anyway in the album, but there's kind of this dichotomy between the really sad or like songs that are written from a place of being hurt, and then songs that are written from a place of like taking back your power and like just I don't know, girl bossing. Like I know that's kind of an overused term, but that's the best way I can think to describe it. And so I feel like to have Midnight Rain as track 5 and for us to just be like in the pit of despair, like really in the depths of, our feels. And then to follow that up with Vigilante Shit, I feel like is just such a good, like, oh yeah, like shot in the arm, like, let's go, So yeah, I don't know. I like having Vigilante Shit as track number 6. Track 7, I have Bejeweled, which I have a lot of thoughts about. So 2 things. First of all, I said I was going to touch on the singles for this album. Obviously, Anti-Hero is an incredible single, like 10 out of 10. Absolutely, like that should have been her number 1 like lead single, like it was. That was a great decision. I don't think that Bejeweled should have been the other single though. And again, this is a bit controversial. I'm not saying it's a bad song. Don't get me wrong. Like it is a good song, but to be honest, it is kind of a later in the album song, in my opinion. And I really think Vigilante Shit would have made an incredible single. I think that it would have worked really well because here's the thing. Obviously, this whole album is like kind of a combination between 1989 and Reputation. And I feel like Anti-Hero is a better, it's kind of the representation of the 1989 side of that combination. And so I think it makes a great single. It's kind of like almost 1989 2.0. So it's like kind of the next level of 1989, right? And I feel like Vigilante Shit is absolutely the same thing for the Reputation album, okay? So Vigilante Shit is kind of the Reputation representation in Midnights. And so I think it would have been so cool to have the 2 singles be the one that's based off of 1989 and then the one that's based off of Reputation. Now, the thing is with Reputation, like, obviously, I like that album well enough, but, it's not, like, Taylor's best album, especially when it comes to, like, musically and just, I don't know, lyrically. It's not a bad album. I still listen to it, but it's definitely not, like, her best. And I feel like Vigilante Shit is, like, just surpasses that entire album, honestly, in one song. And so, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, that was like a whole spiel, and I'm supposed to be talking about Bejeweled, but I think Bejeweled is like a good enough song. And I like the trend on TikTok where people are like doing the dance and like, or not the dance, but like the walk and everything. Like, I think that's funny and everything. Like it's good. It's great. I like that. But I don't know. I just don't like it as a lead or as one of the singles, as one of the music videos. I think Vigilante Shit would have been a much better option. So anyway, all of that to say, I would put for track 7, I would have Bejeweled. Track 8, I would have as Question. Again, these are like all decently solid songs. I feel like the next, honestly, okay, so I have Bejeweled and then Question and then Labyrinth. And I feel like all of these are like pretty solid middle album songs, right? So they're very consistent. They're not necessarily standouts in my opinion, but they're not like we need to push this song to the end of the album, like that sort of thing, which unfortunately this album does have a couple tracks like that. It's not quite a no-skip album in my opinion, but yeah, I think those 3, Bejeweled, Question, and then Labyrinth, they're all very solid, but they're kind of like, I don't know, again, they're just kind of mid-album songs in my opinion, so I think it works really well to have them back-to-back like that. So that leads us into track 10, which is where I have placed Snow on the Beach. So this is probably the song that I moved the most in my track order here. And I think the reason for that, okay, here's the thing. This song is not a standout in my opinion. It definitely is kind of a late album song in my opinion. Not that it's a bad song, but it's kind of one of those that, for me anyway, I'm kind of like, okay, I will probably listen to this when I'm visiting home for Christmas. Like, it's very nostalgic. It kind of has that aesthetic, that vibe and everything. And that's great, but it's just not like a song that I'm going to listen to all the time. I know it is the song where she featured Lana Del Rey. And so, like, that's great. But I do also think that putting it later in the album, like, I would understand if she put it earlier in the album because that's the only track where she featured someone. And so, wanting to get like people who are fans of that person to listen to this song. But to be honest, I don't think you're going to lose that by putting the track later in the album. In fact, you might actually get some people to listen further to the album. Like, if someone starts listening to the album with track 1 and they are a fan of Lana Del Rey, they're going to keep listening until they get to that track. You know what I mean? And I mean, yeah, they might like skip ahead or something, but I just feel like you're not going to hurt that song by putting it later. So yeah, I don't know. To me, it's very much like a late album song in my opinion. So I would put it as track 10. Now, if you've been paying attention, you've noticed that I've kept Karma towards the end of the album. So I have Karma as track 11, and there's a couple reasons for that. Obviously, like, this song there's been so much hype for this song. Like, there's been 4 years of hype. And so you're not going to hurt it at all by putting it later in the album because people are 100% still going to listen to it. And again, I think it's one of those things that, like, when you're thinking about structuring an album, you want to structure it so that the beginning is very solid and then also the end is very solid. Because people are going to remember the beginning and the end. Like, if you just sit down and listen to a whole album, you're going to remember more the beginning and the ending, because you're going to remember like your first impression and then how you feel walking away from the album, right? So I think it's a good idea to keep these 3 songs that she has as the last 3, to keep them as the last 3. So Karma I have at track 11. I will say, I'll just inject this here. Karma is not my favorite song off of the album, and I know that might be a little controversial. I don't know. I was just a little disappointed with it, to be honest with you, and I feel like no one else really feels that way. So if you agree with me, like, let me know. Because I know everyone's like been using the sound on TikTok and everyone's like, oh, Karma, we've been waiting for this for 4 years and whatever. I don't know. It's a fine song, but it's just not there. I didn't get as much from it as I wanted to. So that's part of the reason why I don't have it as the last song, is because I don't think it's solid enough to put at the very end of the album. But I also do totally understand her wanting to like put it later in the album to, again, kind of like get people to listen to the whole album, because like that is one of the big draws, I'm sure, to this album, is people wanted to listen to the Karma track because we've been waiting for this for 4 years. So I understand keeping it towards the end, but I have it at track number 11 because I don't think it's quite good enough to end the album with. Track 12, I have Mastermind. To be honest with you, this one I kind of debated about because, truthfully, it probably could go a little bit earlier in the album just in terms of like the quality of the song. I honestly would probably qualify this with the 3 that I had mentioned before as being kind of like mid-album songs. So Bejeweled, Question, Labyrinth, and Mastermind, I kind of view all of them as being on equal playing field in this album here. But I think the reason that I have Mastermind as track 12 is because track 13 has to be Sweet Nothing. Like, it's crazy to me that Sweet Nothing is not the end to this album. I have tried to think of like all the reasons why it might have not been the choice for track 13, and I cannot think of a reason why. So if you guys can think of a reason why, please tell me, because I'm really curious about this decision. to me, I mean, think about the Reputation album, right? So you have like all of these songs that sound very similar, are very like upbeat, like kind of aggressive, I guess, in a way. And then you have New Year's Day at the end, which is a very sweet, wholesome, piano driven, just like very different vibe, a very standout song in the album. And she has that as the last track. And that's kind of, it just doesn't like fit in anywhere else in the album, you know, but I love that she included it. It's one of my favorite songs of hers of like all time. So, you know, I'm not saying like nothing against that song, but it is interesting that she made that the last track because it doesn't really fit in with the other songs. And I feel kind of the same way about Sweet Nothing. And again, I mean, the Midnights album, it's impossible not to compare it to albums like 1989 and Reputation. So yeah, I think it makes so much sense to end the album with Sweet Nothing. In my opinion, this is one of the best songs on the album. My two favorite songs are Sweet Nothing and Vigilante Shit. And so yeah, I don't know, putting Sweet Nothing at the very end, I feel like makes a ton of sense. And I can't for the life of me figure out why she didn't do that. Mastermind coming after Sweet Nothing, it works, but I almost kind of prefer doing Mastermind and then Sweet Nothing. So that's, again, kind of why I left Mastermind so late in the album, even though it's kind of more of a mid-album song, in my opinion. But I think the flow of those two back-to-back makes a lot of sense. So that's kind of my thoughts on the first 13 tracks of the album. I would love to know in the comments if you guys agree with me or if you disagree or if you have any additional thoughts on that. I'd love to just hear what your order of tracks would be. If you want to just throw that in the comments of just how you would have ordered the tracks, I would be super curious to hear about that. I don't want to get too much into the 7 bonus tracks right now just because I'm trying not to make this video an hour long. I do have some thoughts on that, but basically, long story short, I understand keeping those 7 tracks at the end as the deluxe version, even though arguably like some of the best songs on this album are in those 7 tracks. I mean, Would've, Could've, Should've, Bigger Than the Whole Sky, like Glitch even, those songs are all so much better than some of these original 13 in my opinion. So I mean, yeah, I could definitely see swapping out Question, Labyrinth, even Mastermind. I feel like you could swap out with one of those 3 tracks. But all of that to say, I also understand that Taylor's coming at this from a marketing perspective too, and just the way that she like built up so much hype, and we had listened to all 13 tracks, you know, at midnight when she released the album, and then she was like, oh, by the way, here's 7 bonus tracks. And I think that, I don't know, just the way, you know, when you get surprise music, I think you're more inclined to like it, or at least Taylor's fans are. I think we've seen that in the past with like Folklore. She very much pulled a Folklore with the way she released this deluxe album, and that's so fascinating to me. So I totally understand her wanting to leave some of her best songs on that deluxe version, because probably knowing that her fans are going to be more inclined to like them anyway. I don't know. I'm curious to hear you guys' thoughts on that, if you agree with me or if that's something that I don't know, maybe my perspective is off on that. So that's my thoughts on Taylor Swift's album Midnights and the track order. If you guys have any thoughts on the list that I gave, I would love to hear them in the comments if you agree with me or disagree with me. Also, specifically, if you have a track order that you would have preferred, or you know, just some other ideas for like ways that she could have done the album, I'm very curious to hear that as well. I'm always curious to hear like, I don't know, just other people's opinions who like care about this stuff like I do. I'm really curious to hear what you guys think. So if you want to leave that in the comments, I would love to talk to you about it, and yeah, just kind of engage with you in that way. If you did enjoy this video, if you wouldn't mind to help me out with the algorithm and, you know, do all the things, the liking, the commenting, the subscribing, and all of that, that would be much appreciated. I post regularly on TikTok and every once in a while on Instagram. So if you want to follow me over there, you're welcome to do that as well. If you guys liked this video and you want to see some more Taylor Swift content, I just recently posted a video ranking her albums from worst to best. So if you want to, you can go check that out. I am hoping to also post some more Taylor Swift content. I have some ideas for some videos, but if you guys have any ideas for topics that you'd like me to cover, definitely leave me a comment and let me know, because I'm always looking for new ideas. But yeah, I'm going to try and post at least once a week for the next few weeks, so if that's something that you're interested in, let me know. Subscribe so you don't miss it. And yeah, thank you guys again so much for watching this video all the way to the end. I really appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.